No, you can't, huh?
Ruben wasn't.
John, are you up there? One last call to John. He is not.
John's hand went down.
Okay, so then we will go on to,
Back up.
we are, okay.
Came back.
If we get back to him later, we'll try. We'll close public comment, oral communication, and move on to item number 4. Consent, 4.1, approve meeting minutes. The minutes for April 1st, 2025 meetings are present for approval tonight. Would any member of the public joining us virtually or in person like to provide comment on the minutes? If so, please click the raised hand button in Zoom or approach the electrum. We will take in-person speakers first. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Anybody in the audience here would like to comment on the minutes? Okay. Anybody virtually would like to talk on the minutes? Okay, seeing no comments, thank you. I will now bring the item back for committee deliberation and action. Are there any corrections or comments on the minutes? Fellow members?
No.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
So moved. Roll call, please. Vote.
Are we voting by raised hands?
I get, well, because we're doing virtual, right? So we have to. Otherwise, I say it was unanimous and move on.
Sorry, I missed what you said.
Okay, since we're going virtual, I thought we had to do a roll call.
Oh, okay. Are you looking for me to do that?
I can do it now, yeah, you're independent. I hope you're ramrod it. So would you please take a roll call vote? Am I correct, Mayor? Okay.
You can do, I think, either, but it's usually the director that does the.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I calling individual names or am
Yeah,
I
please
all in
call
favor of
individual
reason?
names.
Okay. Chair McAllister.
Yeah, I vote in favor of the motion.
Uh, Committee member Kamai? Yes. And committee member Hicks? Yes. Okay, 3 yeses.
Okay, motion and voted by raised hand. Oh, okay, I just read raised hands. Okay, we will make this thing a little quicker. New business, Miramonte Avenue Complete Street Project 23.3. This is item 5.1 is the Miramonte Avenue Complete Streets Project 23.31. The staff presentation will be provided by Allison Boyer, Assistant Public Works Director. I'm sorry.
And Chair, do you have an announcement for me?
I do have an announcement to make. Due to my Baskin Robbins locations within a determined distance, I will need to recuse myself for any potential conflict on this particular item. So therefore, I will adjourn to the audience. Oh, you're pointing to the
The anteroom, yes.
anteroom as this will continue.
And who will be chairing in your absence?
I would think the senior member would be maybe Allison. Okay, fine, Allison. And I will be notified when it is over.
Okay, I'm glad to find out how senior I am.
You need your glasses.
Well, I am blind as it is. So. Okay, well, I might as well take one. Oh, I have a badge. What did it?
Okay, so while committee member McAllister, Chair McAllister is walking out, we are now on item 5, new business. 5.1 is Miramonte Avenue Complete Streets Study, Project 2331. And we are, so this is, the staff presentation will be provided by Allison Boyer, Assistant Public Works Director, and Priodi Ahmed, Transportation Planner, will be available to answer questions after the presentation.
So thank you and good evening. Again, I'm Allison Boyer. I am the Assistant Public Works Director, and I have Priodi Ahmed next to me and she'll help with the presentation here. So today we're here to talk about the Miramonte Complete Streets project. The recommendation have before you is to review and recommend the preferred alternative concept plan for Miramonte Avenue Complete Streets Study, Project 2331, from El Camino Real to Castro Street, Maryland, Segment A to City Council. Miramonte has been split into 3 segments, segment A, B, and C. Segment B is currently under design and construction and is expected to begin shortly. Segment A and C are included in the study we are covering today, and this was funded with 2016 VTA Measure B funds. We are focusing on segment A since it is due for paving, and we are looking to do this work with that paving project. Some quick background on where we're at in the schedule here. Last year, we kicked off the study with data collection and outreach round 1. Since then, we have completed preliminary concept design, data analysis, outreach round 2, and developed a preferred alternative. Today, we are here to receive your feedback on the preferred alternative, and based on the BPAC and CTC feedback we received, we are planning to bring the final report to council at the end of the year. So and have that be ready for design with the design team as they move forward with the pavement project. With that, I'll pass off to Prudy.
Thank you, Priyoti Ahmed, and I'll be providing portion of this presentation. So a little bit on the background. The goal of this study is to improve safety, accessibility, connectivity, and increase transportation option on Miramonte Avenue, which supports city's Vision Zero policy, which aims to achieve Vision Zero fatal collisions by 2030, and city's Safe Routes to School program, since this corridor provides access to St. Joseph, Graham Middle School, and Bob Elementary School. As Allison mentioned, this is a planning study for segment A and segment C. We kicked off the study last fall with outreach round 1 and study data collection. For outreach round 1, we conducted bike and walk audit, interactive map survey, and an open house. Through this outreach, we received valuable feedback and improvement ideas for this corridor. In parallel, we also conducted a thorough data collection, which included traffic counts, speed, traffic collision, parking counts, and field observation. Traffic data collection and parking utilization is included in your packet as attachment B and attachment C. Based on the data collection analysis, staff kicked off outreach round 2 during summer. During this round of outreach, staff sought feedback on proposed parking removal, proposed travel lane reduction, and bike and pedestrian facilities along the corridor. During outreach round 2, we have taken these elements for public feedback. Public outreach events included study survey, pop-ups at nearby schools. The outreach notification included sending postcards to residents, car flyer, yard sign, traffic light pole flyer, and social media post. Through outreach, we heard support for protected bikeways and pedestrian safety features. In the survey that closed last Friday, showed that over 55% of survey respondents supported this plan, and of the respondents that opposed the plan responded that preserving a travel lane would be the reason. One key element of this plan is on-street parking removal proposal, which is based on 7-day data collection over different time period around the clock. The proposed parking removal map shared for feedback with nearby schools and corridor residents. This map includes the 3 yellow circles that you see in the screen, shows where the parking removal is proposed, which is on the west side of the street, where we found minimal parking demand and more parking demand on the east side of the street. The second element of the preferred concept plan is travel lane reduction from 2 lane to 1 lane. This proposal is based on low traffic volume and delay analysis along this corridor. The analysis was done through using Highway Capacity Manual 2000 methodology. Approximately 64% of survey respondents supported proposed and additional parking removal. Survey respondents also identified additional treatments, which included new and improved pedestrian crossing, traffic calming measure, and increased streetscaping and improved street lighting. This plan include these treatments through mid-block crossing with rectangle rapid flashing beacons, signs, traffic calming measure through reduction of travel lane and barrier protected bikeways. This plan is also reserving space for Green Street for future if funding becomes available. Now to the preferred concept plan. This segment shows from El Camino to south of East Park Drive. As you can see, we have barrier protected bikeway going southbound and parking protected bikeway going northbound. We also have mid-block crossing with RRFB and dashed line through the complex zone. This segment shows from Park Drive to Trophy Drive. Again, on the west side of the street, we have barrier protected bikeway. On the east side, we have parking protected bikeway. We have high visibility crosswalk at Sonia and mid-block crossing at Trophy Street with RRFBs. And we also have green dash line through the conflict zone. The last segment is from Trophy to Maryland Drive / Castro. And we have barrier protected bikeway, parking protected bikeway, high visibility crosswalk, and dashed line through the conflict zones. To zoom in a bit more, one of the elements is the parking lane reduction, and this map shows from ECR to Park Drive where it will be vertical barrier protected and parking protected. Vehicle lane is 11 feet and buffer and bike lane would be determined in the design phase. This segment also shows Park to south of Sonia, where it is vertical barrier protected on both sides, and the vehicle lane is 11 feet with buffer and bike lane would be determined in the design phase. And this is the last segment that shows from Rankin to Castro. It has the parking protected and barrier protected, and the vehicle lane would be 11 feet with buffer and bike lane would be determined in the design phase. An alternative option to consider keeping the existing bike lane configuration. In this configuration, parking is along the curb, bike lane and travel lane, a bike lane and then will be travel lane. This configuration will preserve 8 existing parking spaces compared to the preferred concept plan. The trade-off here would be keeping parking would be increased conflict points between bicyclists and drivers. The safer option would be to have it as parking protected bikeway. And according to Federal Highway Administration, protected bikeway will reduce vehicle to bike conflict by 53%, which is shown in the previous slide.
So we went to BPAC last Wednesday, and we heard unanimously from BPAC that they also recommended this. They recommended the staff recommendation to CTC to, and the motion passed unanimously. The BPAC comments we heard were exploring loading area opportunities along the corridor, consider additional mid-block crossing at El Camino Real and West Park Drive, consider a bi-directional bike lane from Miramonte Avenue and the maintenance alleyway at Miramonte and East Park Drive, and that's located in front of the ballpark. Consider adding walkways along the corridor. Adding crosswalks along the corridor and restricting right turn on red. Explore shortening turn radii lengths where feasible to slow vehicles crossing the bike lane, and explore options to shorten and improve the merge transition between segment A and B for greater cohesion. So what's coming next? So we finished our community outreach in round 2 with your with a preferred alternative recommendation. From here, we'll move to going to council in fall 2025, and then the design team will kick off the design for segment A. So the recommendation here before you is to review and recommend the preferred alternative concept plan for the Miramonte Avenue Complete Street Study, Project 2331 from El Camino Real to Castro Street, Maryland Drive, Segment A to City Council.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
So, is anyone basically the mayor? Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thanks to staff for the report. I noted a few things. I'm trying to download my contracts. So I was wondering if there are, and I know that there's like attachments, is there a total number of those who provided input? So I saw like surveys with the pop-ups, I saw the percentages, but like how many people in total with all the different methods do you think you spoke to?
I would say over
Speaking to
400.
slide 12, yeah.
Yeah, over 400. So with the orientation, back to school nights and the survey, we have over 400 respondents.
Okay, so for number one, it says study survey, 438 respondents. That's for everything? I thought that was just for the survey.
Survey, sorry, over 500.
Over 500.
Yes,
Okay,
over
that's
500.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, great. And what do you, and I think, 55% of people kind of responded. Are there things that you all did differently that you felt really helped? Or it seems like there was really good engagement. So I was just curious on maybe what worked and what we can maybe as council can ask as we're doing engagement,
Yeah, I think the two things that really comes to mind, one is yard signs.
Okay.
Yard signs are our,
With the QR
the
code thing?
yeah, with the QR code,
Okay.
very
So
high
people's-
engagement.
Walking their dog,
Yeah.
taking the kids to school, that's where we
Okay.
get a lot of.
Yeah, very high engagement and pop-ups. We did back to school night for Bob and Graham, and we also did an orientation with Mountain View Wisman District. And it was, we would scan it, and then a lot of the students actually would take it with us, and they would ask like, what does this mean? So at hand, we kind of showed how to take the survey. It's a planning survey, so there is educational part and you take the survey. So it was really nice to kind of walk people through that.
Okay, and that was gonna be the second part of my question, was trying to understand the data. It's not, disaggregated per se, so just wondering like if everyone is a user, and sorry if I missed it somewhere in the documents, is there a way to know if it's an actual user or an actual youth?
We do have that information. I don't know that we provided it in the report, but
Okay,
we
so
can
you
get
are
that.
tracking.
We did ask how do they
Traveling.
relate to Miramonte?
Well,
Where, do
yeah.
they live there? Do they
Yeah.
travel there? Are they just a resident in Mountain View? So we do have all of that data and we can provide that if that's.
The only reason I asked that is just curious on how, understanding how they use it. And if the things we're proposing are what they want. So that's just why I'm asking.
I can
However, staff
tell,
wants to present that when it comes to the
We
full
put it in the-
council would be really
The
great.
full report.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
just
if I may, if you
Yeah,
can
go ahead.
remember, if you, off the top of your head, have a guess. If not, don't feel
A
free.
majority were either lived along the corridor or were using it for school.
Yep.
That's the majority.
great. All right, so not only do we have the high engagement, but it's actually people who are using that avenue. Okay, great.
And what Priori was saying is when they did the pop-ups, they came with the iPad, so they were taking the survey there. So that's part of those numbers.
So
So
that's, maybe that's part of the engagement,
Yeah.
is you actually had it there for them
To do it right away.
Okay, and then a question about slide 19 related to high visibility crosswalks. So when we do the high visibility crosswalk, I know that's kind of like one measure, but we can also do high visibility crosswalks with like the flashing lights and others. So is that included when we say high visibility crosswalk, or is that another type of traffic analysis with which we have to do to include kind of the flashing sign? Sorry, I don't know the
The
technical terms.
RSCs.
So we
RFB, thank you.
Our RFBs are called
RRFB.
out in specific locations, so we do have two of those included on the project. There's one between El Camino and Park, and then there's another one closer to. What's that?
On
Trophy.
Trophy,
Oh, here we
yeah,
go, okay.
trophy.
Sorry, it was hard for me to totally
No.
tell in the
Yeah.
visuals.
Yes,
Yeah.
this one is with RRFB. That would be a new one. And on Park, that's an existing one. And we are going to put an RRFB there to increase visibility right here.
They're block
Okay,
crossings.
sorry. So at McKelvey, there's the
Yep,
mid block.
yep.
And you will install.
Put that.
Okay, because it doesn't exist from what I recall,
Correct.
right? Okay, so there, and then I'm sorry, can you?
On the trophy.
on Trophy,
Yeah, so it will pop up right there.
but not at Sonia
Sonia
and not
has,
at.
Sonia has a traffic light.
Has a traffic light, so it doesn't, so it already
Oh,
has
right,
a
okay.
controlled pedestrian
Right,
button.
oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. Trying to orient myself.
Yeah, so the RRFBs are added usually for those mid-block where there's not a signal.
Okay, great, thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay, those are helpful. So my questions are, first remind me, the BPAC comments, they did recommend the staff recommendation, and also the additional comments they made are they all explore and consider? They're
Yeah.
none that are
Yeah,
definitely do, okay.
yeah.
Just wanted to make sure, and then can you explain the bi-directional bikeway a little more
Yeah.
to me, because I can't.
Yeah,
visualize
it's
that.
so,
I mean, since it's just explore, I'm.
yeah, so we have to
Yeah,
make sure
I'm
the
more
space,
comfortable,
the
but I don't
space,
understand.
we have to make sure the space is there and
Uh-huh.
I don't know if your mouse will show up, but so if you look to like right, if you were going down the first baseline of the baseball diamond, there is an access road right there.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
missed the driveway so there will be an access point there. So that was one of the comments that we acknowledged that yes, there needs to be an access there. So the comment was between the new mid-block crossing that you see with the RRFB and that access road, explore that the bike lane can go both ways, both
So people
northbound.
don't have to
and
like
s-
cross the street.
cross
just
there.
use their bike.
Correct.
Okay,
So
now
we
I-
have to make sure that the space is there, and
Okay.
that's why we said explore, we'll look and
Okay.
see what's
I'm
available.
glad I asked, because I
Yeah.
didn't get that at all.
So that was the idea is that how, if you wanted to go northbound, you would have to kind of go south to get around, whereas if we did a bi-directional there,
Well,
they
those
could
can
use
be
the
important
crosswalk.
Because people won't cross.
Right, we want to direct them
fight
in a
that
safe way.
Fatality, I think, because somebody didn't want to cross.
So-
Large street 3 times.
Yeah, so making sure that we have this space available in the right of way to do that, but that's what
Makes
that
enough
comment
sense to me
is.
that I endorse exploring it. I should know this by now, but when you do the traffic counts, when I take this street, which I do a lot, it's very different depending on whether it's commute time or other times. So when do you do the traffic counts?
We did it a morning and evening peak, so that
Okay,
was from
I want to make sure. that
yeah,
you
it
weren't
was
doing
from
it, like,
either
when I
6:30
choose
or
to go
7 in the
six
morning till 9.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
so we captured the morning peaks.
And then I noticed that members of the public, not surprisingly, because this comes up most of the time or maybe all the time when we're doing street improvements like this. One of the comments that members of the public said was, could they have increased street trees and landscaping? And then it was said that you would do that if, in the future, if funding's available. And so this is gonna be something I ask every time, just to put it on, not the back burner, but the front burner. So do you have plans to not just say in the future, but make it more specific? And I'll name 2 things that are on my mind. One is that Google may, we've heard, donate a substantial number of trees to us. There's one opportunity. We have an active transportation plan coming up, which may be an opportunity to, fit in, talk about funding for greening. And then the other one is, we have a tree inventory we could use to overlay, but since it's one street, we probably just need the street to find tree deserts. And there's also the California Regional Water Quality Control Board has some permitting they're basically asking us to, I'm sure you know more about this than I do, to increase impervious surfaces, possibly through this. Oh, and then the last thing is that this is something that the Council Sustainability Committee is talking about increasingly, that we need that if we want active transportation, it has to be shaded, otherwise our cars provide shade, but, you know, our bikes and walking does not, we usually don't provide our own shade. So do you have, something more specific than, in the future if we find funding?
So what we've done for this one right now is we've made sure that we haven't precluded it for the future, right? So anywhere that there is a buffer, we can add greening in the future. Right now, because this project is so tightly tied to our pavement project that has already been budgeted and scoped and approved in the last cycle, budget CIP cycle, it's not included in the budget scope for this project. So if this is something that council wanted us to pursue, there would be a cost implication to adding this to the project at this point in time. That being said, moving forward, for any project that is a new project that comes out of maybe the ATP, that's not necessarily tied to a planned cycle of a paving project, we would include the greening or landscaping as part of that planning and design process, so it's budgeted moving forward.
So let me see that I understand, because sometimes I have to hear things twice. So you're saying it's in the projects we're seeing tonight, it says in the future if we find funding, but in the future, because community members and council members have brought it up multiple times, you can put it in a little more proactively. Is that what you're?
So
telling me, or
if
did I
for
misunderstand?
this specific project, council would like to direct staff to include greening, there would need to be a budget modification to the pavement rehabilitation project that this change is tied to, right? This project is basically a striping project tied to a paving project, right? We're not changing curb to curb. We're not changing medians. There's no heavy curb construction, irrigation, utility work as part of this project. So to green it has a significant cost implication. Doesn't mean we can't do it, but right now that is not part of the scope or budget that the CIP envisioned.
I think what I had envisioned is when we next go to council for the, what's it called, biannual CIP, the every 2 years, right? At that time, the biodiversity plan will be done. There will be an opportunity, if council, wants staff to explore, to put in essentially a greening project, but it would take away from unrestricted funds, right? And so there are trade-offs that would need to be evaluated. Right now, we have set out the 5-year CIP for sort of our plan. But if that plan, were to deviate because we wanted to put in trees instead of a different project, that's certainly something that can be evaluated.
So trees is a vague, for an area like this, it's a vague concept, well, trees plural, is it 2 trees or is it 40 trees, I'm imagining that just a few trees may not be more expensive than the bike lane, now I can't even remember what the bi-directional bikeway we were talking about, 2 trees. I mean, I'm just wondering if some of the things we keep adding, I'll put it this way, to me, I walk a lot and people won't walk with me, like really a lot. They're like, we'll take the car, because it's too hot. I mean, just over the past several days, I've had many people refuse to walk with me. They will walk where there are trees. So I find it as important as many of the things that I see added constantly. And I don't have a good idea of whether we're really talking about 2 trees. Is that much? Sometimes that's a good thing to close a gap. So is that really much more than a bi-directional?
So bi-directional bikeway is paint. So the cost of paint is going to be relatively minor. If we were to add trees, you're talking new curb and gutter, new irrigation, the trees, the soil. If it changes our maintenance, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what something like that is gonna cost. But it's more than just a paving project scope. Again, doesn't mean it can't be done. It's just you go from pavement, which is asphalt, to concrete. So that's a difference. You're excavating, you're so again, it can be done. It's just where you want to, if you're doing it as part of the paving, which is what this project is, it's just a different scope and it's a different budget. What I think you're getting at with the ATP is as we develop new projects and we develop budgets and iterate the project from planning to design that are project specific versus tagging along with the paving project, that would be the time to identify a scope and a budget for adding those greening. And as Jennifer mentioned, at that time, we would also have the biodiversity, having the shade canopy, and maybe be able to target those areas specifically.
Maybe we can show or point out on the slides where we anticipate trees might go in the future. Would that be helpful?
Sure, and
To
the other
see, to
thing,
visualize?
yeah, I was actually gonna make that as a comment, that when you showed on some of the pictures, you showed where trees are now, and that was super helpful to me to get a concept of where it might be difficult to walk and where it's easy. And I'm gonna say, I may make a comment saying, explore putting in 2 trees, because we may get a bunch from Google. But I'm gonna wait and see, this is not my neighborhood, or I'd be recused. So I'm gonna wait and see what comments we get from the public. If nobody wants them, I'm probably not gonna make that comment.
And again, we've done nothing to preclude it. So if at some point this is something that we have
Right.
funding or there's a grant that we can chase for this type of work, that's something that we can do. Or if we see something that was very successful along the California project, whether it's even just the planter boxes or something that gives some greening there, we can explore that as well.
And the last thing, when you say you don't preclude, I did have a member of the public emailed me and said that the lanes could be a little narrower, that they're 10.5 feet on El Camino, or 11 where there are buses. And here they're 11.5. And she was saying, and for all I know, she'll say it again, because I noticed she's with us virtually, but I'm wondering whether that would preclude greening even, or lead to even more greening, preclude it less.
So we are planning for 11-foot lanes with this. We need to be able to get, your trash truck through,
Uh-huh.
your fire
Okay, so you
engine.
do have 11.
So
not
they're
11.
correct. The planning includes an 11-foot
Okay,
lane.
good.
Yeah.
That addresses that. Okay, did you think of any additional questions?
I don't know if it's like a question or comment, but hopefully staff can bring back. I'd like the project to move forward. And so perhaps staff can also, when this comes back to council, provide, moving forward with the recommendation, but potential greening, as they were mentioning, for future. I think Mayor Mahe's with these improvements would be quite nice to walk on. There's lots of trees there.
In some places,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a few
I
different
think
places.
obviously other opportunities, but maybe that can be something we can put in the recommendation and staff can
Yeah.
come back.
Okay, in that case, we now, would any member of the public joining us virtually or in person like to provide comments on this item? If you want to, click the raise hand button in Zoom, or if you're here, approach the lectern and we will take in-person speakers first. Any in-person speakers? No? Okay, in that case, we'll go to virtual speakers, and let's see.
Sean S.
Hi, thank you. I'm John Scarborough. I'm a fairly long-time Mountain View resident now, and I'd like to thank you all for doing the work on this. I'd also like to say the work that y'all did on California Street is excellent. It's much more comfortable to ride on, and I think the items that are proposed here will make Miramonte even safer and better for the students and other folks who ride their bikes there. I noticed on California Street, there are a lot of people who are parking on the street, and given that that's a relatively low income area for here, and perhaps there's a lot of people with jobs that require them to drive, I could see that as being kind of a growing pain we need to work out, possibly some on Miramonte as well. But anyway, I like the project and the options, and I'm really glad to see that we're moving forward with protected bike lanes, and maybe we'll get the kind of network that we need so that there'll be more people who will be able to ride their bikes, and we'll have less car traffic, maybe better community centers so that we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions through transportation, as Councilmember McAllister mentioned in the last council meeting. So anyway, thank you very much for your work.
Thank you. So I don't see the names, so you can call them out. Now I do. Next is Celia Paymer.
Celia Paymer.
Celia, do you hear us?
So you-
Hi.
Celia Paymer.
Oh, you just
Oh,
muted me.
there we go.
It's April Webster.
Sorry,
Can you hear me?
I
Oh,
can hear you now. I was waiting for the unmute prompt. It wasn't showing up. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay. So just a couple comments. I'm very excited for this project. Similar to the last commenter, I'm really happy with the project on California. I know it's not absolutely perfect, but it is a pilot project and it gives us lots of things that improve it. I know a lot of people are upset, but I think that's just because they hate driving and it makes them be in their cars 10 seconds longer, which they hate. So for those of us not in our cars, it's much more pleasant, which I think this project will do as well. A couple comments. I hope that the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit is expanded to the whole thing. We already have that prerogative. We don't have to do the traffic check 85% thing anymore. I know it's most of the way 25, so let's make it all 25. And then there's still, I didn't walk that section, but I know on this section, there's still a lot of the signs that say no parking of cars wider than 7 feet and all that are pinch points on the sidewalk. So I hope that those will be moved adjacent to the parking spaces so that the sidewalk is much more walkable and you get the whole space on the sidewalk to walk. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it being a much more pleasant experience to bike down that way, because right now it is terrifying to go around that corner to El Camino. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have Mary Dadio.
Good evening. I want to echo what's been said. I'm really excited about these changes and making this stretch of Miramonte being safer and also just more comfortable for cyclists. More trees would be great. One place that comes to mind is along the ballpark. Whenever we're in that segment, walking in that segment, it just feels like long stretches between the shady spots. I'd like to echo what was just said about changing this whole stretch to 25 miles an hour. And to go along with that, it would be great if the new crosswalks could be raised all the way across to help with controlling the speed, similar to what's on the western part of Cuesta, where we have raised crosswalks in several places. I find that to be really helpful. One place that concerns me, actually, I don't know if you can take a look at it, but the intersection with El Camino Real, north of El Camino Real as you're southbound. So as you're heading to all these new improvements, there is a separate bike lane. It's green painted. And then as soon as you get to the intersection, there's no, at least I realize this isn't designed yet, but there's no real guidance for the cyclist. The green striping goes away, and it looks kind of confusing around the pedestrian island, what's expected of the cyclist. So somehow, even at least just some green paint could be added there, or if the pedestrian island could change shape somehow, or I'm not sure how it would happen, but it's really a scary intersection crossing in the southbound direction, from shoreline over to Miramonte, at this spot. And anything that could be done to help that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So next we have April Webster.
Hi, thank you so much. I also want to echo what the previous speakers said in terms of saying how much I appreciate the California Street project. It's more pleasant, not just on a bike, but even in a car. People are racing far less down that street. I put on cruise control just to see what it's like. And it's about prior to that, the road diet, people were racing past me. So it's really nice now. And it really shows what a complete streets design, how it can make a corridor feel safer and more comfortable for everyone. I also want to say that I fully support the parking protected bike lanes in this project. They remove many of those really dangerous conflict points we see when parking is on the inside and the bike lanes squeezed between the parked cars and moving traffic. I also think it's important to get the details right. And this came up on California around the driveways. I don't know if we could look at how parking is addressed to maybe cut back and get a clear zone of visibility, to help with daylighting, et cetera, and making sure those sight lines are open as a critical buffer. I did want to say something about the proposed lane widths. I saw in the cross section that it was 11.5, and that's it sounds like it was already resolved that it will be 11, but that's 11.5 is more conservative even than what Caltrans has done, and have in their DIB 94 guidelines, but also what they have on ECR. They use 10.5 feet in the general traffic and then 11 feet for buses on the outer, and it works. I also want to say that safety isn't just avoiding people getting hit by cars, but it's also dealing with extreme heat, or just these heat waves that we're having, and addressing shade deserts. And EPA research shows that tree cover can lower surface temperatures by 20 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And that kind of cooling can literally save lives. It is one of the deadliest health hazards in the US, killing more people per year than floods, fires, or hurricanes. So I think we really need to start thinking about that now. Trees don't grow overnight. It takes 15 to 20 years for the canopy to fully mature and get those cooling benefits. And we can't put this off. We need to really start thinking about it. So I think it's great that we are carving out room for it, but I think we need to go a little bit farther. I think aligning the city's tree inventory with our complete streets projects to ensure that they're safe for people when it's getting hot is important. This is being done in Sacramento where it's much hotter. The Franklin Boulevard project, they actually, I think, pulled some funds to make sure that heat safety was addressed on their active transportation. And I think we need to be moving in that direction. California law, SB 379, requires cities to integrate climate adaptation and resilience into their planning. And I think we need to do that. I think at some point, cities will start to get face litigation for extreme heat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers virtually?
No more hands raised.
Okay. So we'll close public speaking and bring this back to the committee for comments. And then we'll need a motion. Mayor, do you have comments?
No, I mean, I think I'm open to staff recommendation with the BPAC comments that were included, as well as looking at
potential future green streetscaping.
Yeah, and I think
I'm trying to find the right way to say it.
Biodiversity.
Future biodiversity. And I think that's where I'd like to leave it. And then allow for a larger member of council and the public to be able to weigh in versus.
So
So that's
just
my motion.
explore it, or what? I didn't get that.
Yeah, I think to include the BPAC comments, right,
Mhm.
as it's the.
And so then I'll just ask additional things. Would you, I don't know whether it's worth saying anything about exploring a raised crosswalk. Is that something we would ever do, or is that too costly? Since several commenters said that.
These crosswalks are typically a traffic calming type of device. In this case, we haven't done that study. Certainly wouldn't want to put us behind schedule. This segment really does need to get paved in the upcoming year. So I would shelve the raised part for later. As a potential, if it does come up as a future community concern, it can go through the NTMP
Okay,
process.
so you can raise crosswalks as a part of the neighborhood traffic calming. Okay, so people interested can hear that. And then members of the public also talked about improving the crossing from shoreline across El Camino to Miramonte. Is that a part of this project, or is that, because that's on El Camino, that's a
It's
separate
outside of our
situation? And should have been handled when we did El Camino, I imagine.
El
Or-
Camino is Caltrans right away.
Right, but we just did that, so.
They just
Yeah,
did
they
that.
just did that, so when would the person who's concerned about that, where would they bring those concerns?
I think what we can do is look at the transition as we're looking at design, just to see how the flow across the intersection would work. If there's something that needs to be done on the north side that's outside of this project scope, we can look at various avenues for how, depends on what the answer is, right? If it's striping, we would, we could see if it's something City Crews could do, or if we could tag it on to another project. But right now it is, it's something that can be looked at. I don't know that I can fully incorporate it as part of this project.
I appreciate that, because it is a difficult intersection. And much used. And what about the speed limit? Where would they take that request, the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit? Would that be a neighborhood traffic calming, or where would one take that request?
I think that's something that we would look at as part of design, right? Especially as we're looking at reducing the number of lanes from 2 in each direction down to 1 as part of that design. And as we're doing the legends on the street, the legends are anything that's like letters or numbers. We would take a look at it at that time. Remember, we also are transitioning into segment B, which will be under construction very shortly. And so that will also inform the design for segment A to the north.
So that's one that a comment that you could easily incorporate? Is that what you're telling me?
Changing speed limit is not an
Not
easy
easy.
incorporation, but we would certainly take a look at all of the factors that go
So
into
are
it.
you open to that as well?
I think that I feel most comfortable moving forward with the staff recommendations, couple of suggestions. And then I don't feel like I have the information to provide feedback on what an appropriate speed limit is at this point. I feel that requires traffic analysis that I have not seen currently. Therefore, I feel that deciding on a certain speed limit doesn't feel appropriate to me at this time. We also are looking at removing a lane of traffic, which I think will affect we're removing a lane, which will have, I think, an implication on speeds with which people go, which might address the speed issue, but I don't know that yet until we go forward with the project.
Okay,
So hopefully everyone understands that point of
Okay.
view, you know, I don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. I think we have something good in front of us, which we can further analyze and see if need to have, once we have more information, once we go from 4 lanes to 2, I think there's gonna be quite a bit of changes on Miramonte. So I think at that time. we can-
Okay, well, I would say take a look now, but if I'm not gonna get a second, then.
I mean, I don't think it's like an easy thing to do.
No.
You know, so rather than have staff go down that path, I think there's a couple different steps we can
Okay.
take.
So, and then I didn't quite understand the tree thing. How did that read? I just want to make sure that I understand what's.
So I think, and I'll look to staff had suggested looking at future biodiversity opportunities. Is that
Yeah, we
correct?
can in the final report, we can recommend areas and we can
Mhm.
also probably. We can include a cost for what.
I would really appreciate.
A
getting
rough
areas and
cost
cost
of
would
what
be
it would
super
be to
helpful.
add that, so we can add that to the final report.
Okay, and somebody
recommended it.
recommended near the ballpark, which is kind of what I
Yeah.
remember as the Ferris part. Okay, so I would second that motion. And all those in favor? Everyone raised their hands. We don't have a clear picture. And now we can call Chair McAllister back to the conference room.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-hour recess as she comes. Oh, that was my trip and fall, my retirement. Jesus, trying to get out of here.
John, did you notice is the water item?
The water open?
Is the refrigerator
I don't
locked?
think so. Amazing Zoom. You know, the only way. Yeah. Okay. It was just, you know, what was it? What is it still on? And there was just a little one line in one of these things. Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you, Allison, for doing this fantastic job under the last minute stress of moving this
Yeah.
project forward. Oh, you know, what's this? I was gonna raise my hand to say hi, but then that would be inappropriate. You never know, you haven't come for the rest of this.
You guys ready? Okay.
More importantly, it's ours. Okay. We are now on to returns to the book. Oh, you already knew I was leaving. Oh.
5.2.
You want to keep me on track. Okay, 5.2, the El Monte Corridor Improvements Project 21.38. 5.2 is the El Monte Corridor Improvement Project 21.38. The staff presentation will be provided by Mary, Chris, and Young, Associate Civil Engineer, and Joy Houghton. Please correct me or help me understand if I'm getting close to announcing those names. Senior Civil Engineer.
Hey, thank you.
I guess I was close. Thank you. Thank you for your, okay, let's begin.
Reintroduce. Good evening, committee members. This item on the agenda tonight is a project update to the El Monte Corridor Improvement Project. I'm Mary Chris Huang with the Public Works Department, Associate Civil Engineer, and alongside me is Joy Houghton, Civil Engineer. So as we get started, the yellow highlighted area in this aerial illustrates the project limits, which include 2 signalized intersections along El Camino Real at Escuela Avenue and El Monte Avenue, circled here in black, and 7 non-signalized intersections along El Monte Avenue, circled here in blue. These intersections are along El Monte from El Camino to the city limits at Springer Road and J Street. El Monte Avenue is a 4-lane street with 2 travel lanes, a bicycle lane in each direction, a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour, and an average daily traffic volume of approximately 14,000 vehicles per day. So background on how we got here today. In 2019, the El Monte Corridor Study was started to evaluate improvements for increased safety along the corridor. The study involved robust community engagement, including presentations to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee and Council Transportation Committee. In 2023, the project received federal funding through the One Bay Area Grant Program Cycle 3 funds in the amount of $2.4 million for the scope of work along El Camino Real. That year, Council also approved an alternative from the study, which included a road diet from 4 lanes to 3 lanes with buffered bike lanes on the El Monte corridor. In 2024, a professional service agreement for design was executed and preliminary design was kicked off. And that leads us to today, where staff has begun coordination efforts with Caltrans and recently presented the 35% design to BPAC, which will be discussed later in this presentation. As shown here, the project limits are again highlighted in yellow. El Camino Real, also called State Route 82, and highlighted here in blue, is owned and maintained by Caltrans. This is of significance because it means the project requires Caltrans design review and permitting to do any improvements within their right-of-way. The OBAG 3 funding is specifically for work within the Caltrans right-of-way. The city is fully funding the improvements on the El Monte corridor. Previously, it was 2 separate projects, but staff will deliver these projects together due to the overlapping project limits. In these next few slides, I will be sharing the project scope in detail. So starting with the El Camino Real and Escuela Avenue intersection, this will include high visibility crosswalks, green bike lane striping at conflict areas, and removal of the right turn only lane from Escuela onto El Camino Real with the installation of bulb outs with directional curb ramps. Oh geez, the slides are not showing on Zoom. Are we good to resume?
I'm gonna check.
Oh, our virtual component is not seeing the slideshow.
Right.
Give us a couple seconds to see if we can push some more buttons. Says we're screen sharing now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That's Mountain View in 5 years.
Oh.
Okay.
Do you want to read from? Do you want to read? Just.
We'll just pick up
where
we left off.
Okay. Do you want to turn off the note? Oh.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
you just.
Do the best you can with what you have.
Okay, great.
Let's move it.
With it. Thank you everyone for your patience. Right, so I'll restart this slide, but we are going through the project scope in detail again, starting with this El Camino Real and Escuela Avenue intersection. So at this intersection, this project will install high visibility crosswalks, green bike lane striping at conflict areas, and removal of the right turn only lane from Escuela onto El Camino with the installation of bulb outs and directional curb ramps. The intersection will also receive traffic signal upgrades, which includes conversion to an 8-phase traffic signal system, allowing protected left turns and eliminating pedestrian and vehicle conflicts. The design for the intersection out at El Monte Avenue will implement the feasibility studies recommendations, and that includes high visibility crosswalks, green bike lane striping at conflict areas, maintaining 2 left turn lanes from westbound El Camino Real to southbound El Monte Avenue, and removal of the right turn slip lane from El Camino onto El Monte Avenue.
Yeah.
The slip lane. Yeah, free right turn.
Oh.
Additionally, staff is coordinating with Caltrans to incorporate protected intersection elements at the southwestern corner of the intersection. This intersection will also receive traffic signal upgrades, allowing protected left turns and eliminating pedestrian and vehicle conflicts. Staff is still evaluating the elements for the area created by the removal of the slip lane from westbound El Camino to southbound El Monte. Elements may include green stormwater infrastructure as well as landscape improvements. Tree impacts will be determined at the next design milestone for the new bicycle and pedestrian pathways within the project scope limits. Staff will aim to avoid impacting the trees, but should heritage tree removals be required, staff will recommend a tree mitigation plan to the Urban Forestry Board. This image shows a typical cross-section that was included in the council-approved concept for the road diet along El Monte Avenue from El Camino Real to the city limits at J Street. In this image, a vertical element as shown in the bicycle lane buffer will be is shown as a placeholder. The specific vertical element style will be determined during the design process. Now looking at the El Monte corridor between Edna Mary and Pilgrim, the design includes the following: the road diet beginning just south of Merritt Way, buffered bicycle lanes on both sides, the high visibility crosswalks, and in this section, a pedestrian refuge island. Between Pilgrim Avenue and Hollingsworth, the road diet will continue and there will be green bike lane striping in conflict areas, high visibility crosswalks with pedestrian refuge islands at the intersection. The project introduces 2 new crosswalks at the Hollingsworth El Monte intersection. Rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or other known as the RRFBs, crossing El Monte at this location will be added to the scope and staff will be seeking additional funding. And here between Sparker and Springer Road, the road diet continues to the city limits, along with the green bike lanes and high visibility crosswalks. The project was presented to BPAC this past June, and the committee provided the following motion for consideration. BPAC approved the preliminary design with recommendations for staff to look into the following: at the signalized intersections along El Camino Real, a protected left turn coming out of the commercial parking lot south of Escuela Avenue onto El Camino Real, reducing the southbound lane on Escuela to give more space to the bicycle lane width, and to evaluate the cost for adding protected treatments on the northeast corner of Escuela Avenue, as well as the southeast corner of El Monte Avenue and El Camino Real. On the El Monte corridor portion, BPAC's feedback included to have staff evaluate the approach at J Street to reduce conflicts between vehicles and bicyclists. And BPAC also recommended a speed study be performed after construction to identify any opportunities to reduce the posted speed limits. Based on staff's initial assessment, staff will work on incorporating the elements highlighted here in green, particularly the westbound left turn on Escuela Avenue and El Camino Real, the conflict zone on El Monte towards J Street, and the speed survey after the improvements are constructed. For items in gray, staff is still evaluating additional protective elements at the intersection and will need to coordinate with Caltrans for those improvements within Caltrans right-of-way, including the need to comply with Caltrans design guidelines. So following this meeting, staff will evaluate the feedback obtained in both BPAC and CTC meetings and update the design accordingly. Staff will continue coordination with Caltrans as the design further develops. Final design of the project is anticipated to be completed in summer 2026, and staff will bring the project to council for approval and authorization of bidding. Construction is anticipated to start in spring 2027 following Caltrans approval. So tonight, staff has this recommendation for the commission's consideration. And that concludes the presentation. Yeah.
Thank you. So do we have questions from our committee members?
Okay, I guess I'm going first. Okay, first, what is, just like before on the bi-directional bike lane, what's a protected left turn for a bike?
Protected left turn for bikes.
Oh, it wasn't for a bike? What's a
Oh.
protected left turn?
Protected left turns it'll have a designated lane for the vehicle.
So it will be painted so that it's visible, the left turn.
It'll have like a left turn only
Okay.
arrow signal. I mean, sorry, not signal, marking.
Okay, and protected just means that it's solely for that and visible.
If I can add, protected left turn for vehicle means that the left turning movement will get its own phase. So it gets a left green arrow rather than just a green ball that allows left turn movements and must yield to pedestrian. But with the protected left movement, it eliminates that conflict when pedestrians are in the crosswalk.
I'm only familiar with the term protected, I think bike lane, with actual protections. Thank you. And then, what, there are lighting improvements named, but do you have further detail on what lighting improvements would be considered?
At this stage, not
Or what's typical in a project like this?
Yes, they will do an illumination test along the corridor and wherever there might need some upgrades to the amount of areas that are lit.
So it's typically evaluation and then street lights? Okay. Okay, good to know. I've never asked that one before. Okay, I think most of the rest of mine are the motion here, the previous motion said to incorporate BPAC's comments. Is that implied with this motion as well? It's suggested motion that you'll incorporate BPAC's comments? Or should we add that if we're making a motion?
Yes, staff already completed initial assessment of things that we can include in the project. And then, as Mary Chris mentioned, the items in gray, we're still continuing to
Okay,
do
so
that.
we're assuming that those are a part of the motion. And then, my last question is, the study says there will be green street improvements where feasible. So do you know, do you have any more detail on that? And, or should we, say what we said for the last item on the agenda?
Yes, so we are evaluating just the budget, also because in the areas along El Camino that is Caltrans right of way, we want to evaluate what we can do to comply with their design guidelines. And of course, what we, the funding can stretch out to be. But we are looking at those particular corners, if I may scroll over. Example, the area highlighted here in red. And I think, at least for BPAC, their input was also potentially at either of the north on this image corners of the Escuela.
Oh, so they made particular comments.
Yes,
Yeah, there are some areas that are kind of bare in this area. Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
So I have, thank you to.
No.
Thank you to staff. I know that, I was just trying to like look back. I know that this is a very high conflict area, if not one of the most, right? The Escuela El Camino, if I remember correctly. I was just trying to go back and realize, because I remember when we were doing like the Vision Zero, there was this like rainstorm. I thought it was like Escuela El Camino, and then, am I remembering correctly? Can staff help me remember
There was
the
a-
different spots that we
there
were
was a
trying to
challenge.
address? Yeah. And this is one of them. It wasn't in this one.
It may be just because it's one of the first protected intersections that we're working on along El Camino. We do have a lot more to follow this project and included in our 5-year CIP plan.
Yeah, Robert Gonzalez, the principal civil engineer. So you may be remembering back to the streetscape plan.
Okay, so
The streetscape plan identified 5 primary corridors that were crossing El Camino. So they saw that as high conflict areas, and that's why this project was identified for the OBAG funding and received the grant.
okay.
So it was identified. So that was
Okay, so I am remember it. Okay. Oh, okay. Wow, 2019. Okay, so my memory goes, see, this is good then.
Wow.
Okay, so does Escuela El Camino and El Camino El Monte count as 2 of the 5 on ECR? It
I'd
counts
have to
as
double
1?
check, but I believe it's
It's
one.
one.
Counts as
We
1
have a few
section.
more.
Okay, great. Okay, so then we have 4 more to go.
Yes.
All right. Okay, and then had a question about the slip lane. So I saw too that it's the Caltrans right of way. So, and it looks like we're looking at those landscaping and green infrastructure area. So to kind of, Councilmember Hicks's comments about biodiversity and things, we could look at that as something, right? And it could be more than just a passive area, because I think it'd be pretty substantial once.
Yeah.
Once it's, so is staff looking at that as like, I don't know if that's the right word, but like kind of a placemaking opportunity or something, or that's.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, more green stormwater infrastructure, and anything that creates some sort of sense of place for this location.
Just staff.
It's a large area, so there's different opportunities.
Right. And I think that kind of dovetails into my next question, which is, and I don't know if I want to say this in front of Councilmember McAllister, but is this like a public art opportunity perhaps, or are you thinking just green? Just asking. I don't want to give you ideas.
At this time, just greening.
Just greening,
Um,
okay. All right.
It looks like
I'm
our
just
city
curious,
engineer
just-
wants to add.
Hi, Ed Orango, Assistant Public Works Director. Thank you for the question. As far as the public art policy is specific on the types of projects that qualify for public art, and it gives us some consistencies for staff to know how to budget and plan for a project. So a roadway project like this doesn't fall within those categories.
Okay, Thank you. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay. So I don't have the background that all you have. But I'm gonna dig in. So the slip lane. Why was it determined to eliminate it?
I think the safety along that with it having its kind of designated right turn movement, it was known that vehicles could potentially speed through that, and there is crossings for pedestrians along there, heading towards south of this photo, towards along the El Monte Avenue corridor.
Were there any accidents, car accidents, pedestrian accidents that says this slip lane is not safe? Has there been any data behind it to say this has been here for 50 years? So I'm just wondering what decided that it's just that you're taking it out? Is it just assumptions or is there data behind it?
I'll let the staff talk to data, but I'll say in general, throughout this whole area, slip lanes are considered an old design feature. They do encourage high rates of speed for vehicles making that right turn lane. It does introduce significant conflict points between vehicles and pedestrians and bicyclists. I can let you know that in the last agency I was with them for a very long time, and there's a concentrated effort to reduce slip lanes all throughout that agency. So it is a region-wide emphasis and acknowledgement on the growing importance of alternative ways of getting around besides just vehicles.
Is there not a stop sign on that slip lane?
There is not. Oh, I'm sorry. Going
But they
to El Monte.
going from El Camino to El Monte, is there not signals or stop sign that control the slip lane?
So there would be a stop sign from right when the vehicle goes to the slip lane to El Monte.
There is a signal there. It does control the slip lane traffic. Are you aware of that?
Well, I said there was stops. But yes, there's a signal, so thank you for correcting.
So by doing that, now you have to, is that owned by Caltrains, that whole section?
That
Purple,
would
Caltrans.
Caltrans,
that would fall under right
Okay.
of way, yes.
and has there been any traffic count on how many people use the slip lane and how that will affect the traffic going around the corner?
I don't have that data, but we can go back to either traffic or even from Caltrans if they have that data.
I think we would have to go back to 2019, yes?
If I could add, the concepts shown for the intersection of El Camino and El Monte and also the El Monte corridor came out of the feasibility study that started, I believe, in 2022 or and it went through a robust community engagement. So the removal of the slip lane may have come from the community as an ask to be included in the project.
Okay, again, I wasn't here, so my approach to traffic is, I would say, a little different than others. The project scope, again, you mentioned. So how many times has there been is there another scope? Is this evolving project scope on this project? Because initially, when you did your comments, you said this project, we're gonna do the project scope again. So is there gonna revise this, revisit, or is this a preliminary project scope, and so you're still finalizing it?
We are in the early stages of design. Yeah, and Robert.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Robert Gonzalez, Principal Civil Engineer. So looking at the CTC memo on page 3, it lays out a June 23rd report where we went to council and the alternative 3 was approved. So those scope items, including the slip lane, were approved by council, and that's how we move forward to the design stage. The only elements that are changing at this point are the size of the buffer, size of the bike lane, specific elements on corner treatments, items that were brought up by BPAC. So those elements that are design details or adjustments are what we're looking at now. These primary design elements are moving, are the ones that council moved forward with, and that's how we started our RFP and our consultant contract.
So when we talk about scope, is this fully funded? Are you still looking for funds?
At this moment, well, I mentioned in the Hollingsworth Almonte Avenue intersection, the staff is looking into the RFB at that intersection, so I think we will be looking for additional funding so that we can add that to the project scope.
Okay. You also mentioned on the traffic signals, they're gonna be signalized or they're gonna be upgraded. Will those signals, is the city of Mountain View? Are those gonna be signals that city of Mountain View will be potentially using on some of its streets? Will it be compatible with what we're doing? Are they more advanced than what we have in the past? And I know Caltrans will control those signals, but will we have any, just give me some insight about these traffic signals are gonna be computerized, AI, what so forth?
Upgrade. The upgrades that we are mentioning are for the protected signal phasing that senior civil engineer Houghton was explaining. So the upgrades are to add the protected left turns, particularly at the Escuela Avenue and El Camino intersection. And then for this intersection, El Camino Real and El Monte, we are adding that crosswalk on the west side on this image. So we will need to upgrade that signal to have it so that there's no conflict with the left turn. And then because we are touching the signals, we will have to look into signal infrastructure, signal cabinets, and those are the type of upgrades we're referring to.
So even though it's on Caltrans line, we're paying for the signals?
It will be funded by this project, but they will maintain it
Okay.
and own
And
it.
has that cost been determined yet?
We have estimates and we do have that 2.4 million OBAG grant for those areas, the intersections.
Has there been any studies to say how many people are on bikes going along El Monte?
I believe we have counts from the study. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, staff would have to come back and answer that question just with some details. Those may have been done as part of the study, but we don't have this in front of us.
Was there, I mean, this sounds like a very cost thing, so I'm trying to, if you did do your study, I'm trying to figure out the cost analysis of how many people will really use the bike lanes versus well, that's comments, but yeah, I'd like to see how, if there was an analysis on that. I noticed that on the turning into the diet lane, could you show the scene where you go into the parking lot of the shopping center? You had a clip in there. It was when we were showing a road diet. Now, I agree that, okay, well, while you're on that slide, why, again, Escuela is sort of an interesting intersection, so why taking out the right turn lane? What was the thought behind that? From Escuela going north or west?
The bulb out.
The bulb out.
Yes, we are adding that bulb out. And I think the intent is again to slow the speed of the right turns, so then they are in that kind of into that right and through lane to help, kind of.
Have there been any accidents, any incidences that would indicate that the right turn lane was an issue?
Now, I am aware there was a accident not too long ago, I think in April of this year. But was it at that particular location? I'm not too aware. It was at that.
I
okay.
do know that coming out of the Walgreens is crazy because the signal is nuts. And yeah, that's one of those intersections. If you're going off of Squalin, making a left turn, people they have the opportunity to walk. So are you saying the signals are gonna say people will be able to walk, no cars will be moving? Or are you still gonna have compatible Escuela turning left going eastbound and people crossing across the street? Because there's constant conflict from what I see there.
It's typically with the vehicular movement, I'll say, but the two bulb outs on the corners do a couple of things. One, it shortens a pedestrian crossing distance, right? So a pedestrian is not as exposed, if you will, as long in the street as they're making that particular movement crossing the street. Secondly, is that elimination of a free right turn makes a pedestrian or a bicyclist, whoever's crossing the street, more visible to the driver, right? They're coming to like a point in the corner rather than a vehicle cutting the corner and having two potential locations where there could be conflict. So again, this is we think a good thing that we are doing at this intersection.
Thank you. Okay, so could we find that one slide where you're showing the proposed road diet going into the parking lot? Okay, right there. So you see right where the red ends? That's a right turn into the parking lot of the shopping center. So there's gonna be congestion there. So were you aware of that? And why are you doing the road diet there and not maybe down a little bit further or past it so that there won't be that conflict of people coming out or going in right there?
That's something we can take a look at. My understanding is this is the earliest point that we could do this that allows the cars to then decelerate and merge into one lane from two.
But the cars will be, okay, I'm asking it because I see a potential conflict or people slowing down to make the right turn, people not paying attention, the bikes going through. So that's a concern of mine. Okay. Has your, now, that's the context. Is the crosswalk at March Way being affected at all?
In terms, just the high visibility crosswalk.
So it's a crosswalk right now, is my understanding, but it's just a regular crosswalk, right? And so we're going to be upgrading it with the ladder style, which is the high visibility reference that we've been speaking about.
Will there be lights there? I thought there are no lights there.
There are lights, I think there are a RFB in that intersection or closer to Edna Mary, but there is one already RFB along El Monte Avenue.
Has there been any consideration or study considering that El Monte is a major thoroughfare coming from all the way from Foothill Expressway through Los Altos coming into this area? That how traffic's going to be affected?
I'll say that this study was done in 2019, 2020 era. That's also around the time that council approved the study. So all of that analysis was done way back then.
Have things 5 years, so does that information change or modify over time?
Not significantly, I would say, if anything, the city's grown over time. Even despite, the COVID years, we're starting to see rebound with respect to traffic. So I would say not significantly enough to change the results of that study.
Well, you just said things were growing, so potentially the traffic could be greater now than it was before?
Not significantly. We've rebounded and as a city, we're growing, but I wouldn't undo something that council's already approved from 2019 when there was very robust study done at that time.
Hi, Ed Arango again. To add on to Director Aiden's comments, El Monte from El Camino Real to J Street, we call it J Street, 'cause that's the city limits. It's 2 lanes in each direction, and the proposed road diet provides it 1 lane in each direction. Once you get to J Street, it forks off. We have J Street that goes to the right, and then we have Springer that continues. Both are one lane in each direction. So, and that's pretty consistent through to Foothill. So again, one lane in each direction. So this is effectively matching that configuration. And again, with the other comments that you've heard before about the community looking for traffic calming measures along this section.
Let's see what else I have in there. Okay, I think that asks my questions. So then we will bring it out to the, any other questions before anybody came up with a second thought or anything?
No,
Okay. Would any member of the public joining us virtually or in person like to provide comments on this item? If so, please click the raised hand button on Zoom or approach the lectern. Okay, no one from the in-person is going forward. Is there anybody virtually?
Yes. Celia Paymer.
Who?
Celia Paymer.
Oh, Sylvia, thank you.
Yes. Hi, thank you. I have a lot of comments, so I'll try and be quick. First off, the right turn on Escuela, I like the idea of the bulb out, but if you have it, please have a slip lane for the bikes. Otherwise, the bikes are forced into the car traffic, right at a point when everyone's like looking around. So let's keep that conflict to a minimum and make sure there's still a lane there. And then I do have to say I'm not loving the options for the bikes turning left onto or off of Escuela. Even when we hopefully add the no right turn on red, there's always conflicts for pedestrians and bikes with cars. Even if they're going straight, there's cars turning right into them on a green light. So I wonder if it is possible to look into a bike and pedestrian scramble cycle. Right now with the head start cycles already, we're adding 15 seconds now that we're having that protected left. So why not go to 30 and actually make it safe for bikes and pedestrians? We have 4 to 5 protected cycles for cars. Let's have 1 for bikes and pedestrians. Then also, I do really like the Hollingsworth crosswalks. Thank you for putting one on both sides. I love that. I do want to clarify the slip lane from El Monte or from El Camino onto El Monte does have a light, but it's after the pedestrian crossing. It makes the cars stop for the oncoming cross traffic, not for pedestrians or bikes. So that does not increase safety. In terms of the bike count, the bike users tend not to show up when they feel like they're going to die. So sort of like saying, hey, there's a river between us and the town. No one ever goes to town. We don't need to build a bridge. We do need to build a bridge if we want people to actually go from our side of the river to the other, right? They need to not die on the way. I agree that the J Street intersection needs fixing. I bike through that every day and it's a mess. So I don't know what the fix is. I liked the idea of the roundabout, but I guess that got thrown out at some point. But it is kind of a scramble there. And then also remembering for the El Monte road diet that the lights are the choke point for traffic, not the number of lanes. So unless we're doing something about that light cycle to get more cars through, which we're not because we prioritize El Camino traffic, the number of lanes isn't what's going to make a difference. So let's reduce the number of lanes, make it so bike users don't feel like they're going to die, so they actually use the road, and that'll reduce cars, which will reduce traffic for everyone. No one likes to be in their car behind another car, so let's get the other cars off the road by putting them on bikes, right? All right, thank you so much.
Mary Dadio.
I didn't see the unmute button. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry. I just want to say I'm super excited to see the improvement with the having a dedicated left turn lane coming out of the next to the Walgreens and having separate light cycles, because the few times I've been at that intersection, I've always wanted to coming out of Escuela, I've always been trying to make a left-hand turn, and it is on a bike, and it is, I can't imagine how scary it is for the pedestrians, because it's awful for a bike. You just have no idea what all of a sudden there's somebody coming at you from the Walgreens because people come around the corner all of a sudden really fast and you have no idea what they're going to do because nobody uses their turn signal. So thank you, thank you. That I'm super excited to see that. I do want to say El Camino Real and El Monte on that southwest corner. So in the diagrams, it's been sort of like a purple blob or a pink, magenta color blob. A previous iteration did keep a slip lane for pedestrians and cyclists in that purple blob area. So the slip lane for cars went away, but it was still there for cyclists and pedestrians. And that would be such a treat to just get away from traffic, even for the 30 seconds or whatever it takes you to bike through that space. Assuming especially there are going to be some trees and stuff added, it would be such a pleasure to just have a few minutes away from traffic. So I'd really love to see that. And I agree, as you approach the J Street area, that is pretty scary, but I think some of that belongs to Los Altos. And so in general, thank you so much for this whole project. I know you guys have been working on it for a long time and it's really shaping up great. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean S.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, this is John Scarborough, and I am also, like the other speakers, really excited about this project. It's good to see this coming and improving over the years. And I'd like to take a moment to thank Chair McAllister for reminding me in an earlier, me and probably some other folks who were focused at that time on building greenhouse gas improvements, that transportation also is an important factor to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And, you know, these kind of projects, like in California Street, along El Camino, getting the protected bike lanes in there, getting more street trees where we can, you know, that'll help reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, reduce the heat island, get more people walking and biking. So I thank you for the reminder on that. So I like the plans, much like California Street and ECR. You know, the protected bike lanes are good. I've been seeing people riding in the bike lanes on ECR, even families. It's just amazing. You know, big change since, you know, the time before the protected bike lanes. And then on California Street, that is so much more comfortable to ride on. I see we still have some problems with a lot of people parking. So if we can work that out there, we should be able to work it out everywhere else in the city. So I'm really excited to get that done. I'd be in favor of more space for trees on this project. So if we could have more of a park space, if the slip lane goes, have more of a parkish type space rather than a grassy stormwater retention pond, I'd be in favor of that. I think that would make it a nice gateway into, you know, the El Camino Real part of Mountain View from the south. Yeah, if we can have some green, like just planter boxes, if we're not going to have trees, those would be nice. You know, kind of like they have the planter boxes on California Street. Hopefully they'll be filled soon. But trees are even better, so we can have that. I'd be in favor of that. So thank you all for your work on this. I really appreciate it. You're making our city much better to get around by bike and walk and don't have to take our cars. Thanks.
Thank you. April.
Hi, thank you. I just want to echo what the other speakers have said in terms of being really happy to see this project taking shape. And you know, protected infrastructure going in there for people moving on bike and walking. I'm basically going to plus one a bunch of things that other folks have said. I want to say that I strongly support Celia's comment about including a protected scramble cycle for bicyclists and pedestrians. This is a really dangerous intersection, and it can be one of the, like, a really effective tool to avoid or reduce those conflicts at intersections. They just give people, you'll see it in other communities or whatnot, they'll sometimes have lights, but giving them a head start, you have better visibility as a driver in terms of seeing them. So I absolutely plus one that. And as you know, if we can have a little bit of an extra crossing interval to get them out there, that would be wonderful. A huge plus one for the elimination of free right turns, that, you know, that sort of old school practice. I am thrilled to see the city starting to, you know, implement that and You know, it's one of the best practices in complete streets design. So kudos. Yeah, they just, you know, make it, they slow down the car and make it easier for them to see instead of, you know, speeding right through that and maintaining speed as they go around the turn. Um, also, awesome to see the road diet. This further, I think, strengthens the safety of this stretch, this project. And we've seen how, you know, John mentioned this, how impactful it's been on California Street, how, you know, on El Camino Real, in terms of calming traffic, and just creating more comfortable space for people biking and walking. And it's, you know, pretty much state of the art. Oh, and I also wanted to, really glad John mentioned, you know, if you're anywhere that there's space, that we're removing some of the space, it's a great opportunity, like the slip lane, it's a great opportunity to add in greening. And so some sort of, you know, GSI, green stormwater infrastructure, or trees or anything like that. You know, I think that should definitely be considered. You know, just giving heat is a safety issue. It's not just people getting hit. And we have to start thinking in that, I think, that frame of mind, that the more we could add in greening and more canopy, and thinking long term, we need to get this stuff in place so that we're not going to have people suffering, you know, on the streets. They won't be able to walk or bike around if it's too hot. And you've seen this already in other communities. Sacramento has started tackling this already. So I think we should always think about this when we have an opportunity. Thank you so much.
So that was the last of our virtual speakers, or do you see some more?
That is all.
Okay, thank you, people, for staying on and give us your comments. We appreciate them. I will now bring this back to the committee for comments and action. Does anybody have comments or further questions?
So, are any of the things that members of the public brought up possible to consider? The big one that I saw was something additional for people, particularly for bikers and pedestrians at El Camino and Escuela, where there was a fatality in, I think, last April. So that is as commenters said, and in practice, it's a dangerous intersection for pedestrians and bikers. They mentioned a scramble. Is that something that's easy to consider, hard to consider? It would be on El Camino, so it seems like pretty prohibitive.
It would be certainly something that Caltrans would need to approve, because it is within their right of way.
Right. So are there any kinds of improvements at this point, or do you feel it's improved enough since April?
We are still evaluating additional protected intersection elements, I believe, on the southeast corner of the intersection. Off the top of our heads right now, we don't know, but that's something we would be evaluating with our design.
So I
after
would say
tonight's
just
meeting.
pay special attention to that intersection because it has a big problem. And then the other one they talked about was the slip lane area that could be greened, should be greened. Could there be a bike or pedestrian path winding through whatever is there that's green? Is that a possibility or not?
It is a possibility and we'll evaluate that definitely as it's designed further develops.
Okay, so those were the two things that I heard from the public that I wanted to add. Otherwise, I would be willing to make a motion, but okay, so I make a motion to accept the proposal, the staff proposal, include.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you while you did your motion.
Okay.
I was
Where's
just,
the-
I was just gonna confirm the staff. So the slip lane that you mentioned for pedestrians and bikes, we're not removing the sidewalk that's there now. So pedestrians will still have access there, and we can still look for a design element that includes a slip lane for bikes as well. So we're not eliminating that. And then in terms of
And
looking
if you
for
can
opportunities
integrate
there.
it beautifully, with
Right.
whatever greening you
Right,
do,
right
that would
next
be.
to the Hertz parking lot.
Yes.
The greening elements, I agree with the public comments that the slip lane area seems like it's large enough to accommodate additional trees as well as stormwater. We're sizing the stormwater now. So as a senior engineer Houghton mentioned, once we get that size, we'll understand better how many trees we could actually plant in that area.
Okay.
Continue. Thank you.
Good to know. So I'm making a motion to accept the staff recommendation with particular attention on the El Camino Escuela intersection and yeah, how to incorporate bikes and pedestrians through the area that was a slip lane and will now be a greener space.
Okay. Do you have any comments? We'll have some discussion. So your comments, please.
Well, I'm actually quite excited that we're moving forward with this project because I'm happy that staff was able to remind me that this was one of the 5 priority areas and that we're making progress. I also strongly feel that slip lanes are dangerous and have had experiences as a cyclist and runner getting almost hit multiple times because of the high speeds that people go through the slip lanes, at least the one near me, because people are coming off of Central into the Wisdom area. They just come at like 50 miles an hour. So I'm actually quite excited, and I think anything to help get us more connected and make people safer is the route I want.
Okay.
And it's gonna green a corner, so I think that's gonna be great. So
Well, you know,
hopefully it'll support the motion too.
there's a business there on El Camino. It's a rental place. What would happen to the driveway that's at the slip lane?
Yes, we do acknowledge that. I believe you're referring to the Hertz rent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the driveway, what we are looking right now is we would want to configure to come off of El Camino into it, but we do need to, or our design consultant is looking into that.
Access will still be provided. We haven't worked through all the details of the design in terms of how exactly that will occur, but it's absolutely the intent to maintain access.
So are
We
you
have 2
saying,
driveways right now.
yeah, they have 2. You're taking out 1. So, right. No, well, that's the thing is that then you would reduce their parking where they keep their cars that are for rent. So.
There'll be more parking, but less.
There is less parking for.
That's where I rent my cars. It's a cute
Yeah.
little, but super cute
Okay,
little
so-
building.
How are you gonna address that issue?
Well, the design consultant is looking into that and we will coordinate with that.
Do they have a preliminary idea?
Just the access point coming from El Camino.
So where there's a right turn arrow now on that intersection, you would be putting a driveway in there?
Just right before the right turn.
Oh. Yes.
There's,
There's a.
I have an arrow there, so you're saying right in that area?
Can we flash out to the slide? To the slide six. So, yeah, right below that right turn arrow marking, there's a symbol for the driveway right here.
Yeah, so,
Correct. So there's no plans to remove a driveway.
so how are they gonna get turned? Is it green? There's nowhere to turn, so you gonna keep that so that they can turn into that parking driveway?
Yes, we will. There will be a
There'll
break
be a
in the
break.
buffer, there. There's no curb at that point. So we would have a break in the curb and we would have a break in the buffer there. So
So dead
that
end.
doesn't show proposed conflict striping, but we could have proposed conflict striping there. So it would be a right turn off and almost like a 160-degree turn into the lot, but we would keep both of their driveways.
May I make a suggestion?
Please do.
Well, my suggestion to staff could be maybe when the rendering comes back for the full council approval, it could be included where the proposed driveway could be. And then that way, Councilor could see the two with the pit.
Yes.
And maybe that will help.
Well, I'm sure they could, if they could keep me abreast of it along the way too.
What's gonna
That'd be
come to
fine.
the full council?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
For final.
I did heard someone say that there's no turn on red. What intersection is that? Is that proposed? That's a Caltrain thing? So has that been approved or does Caltrain have the authority on that one?
So those have not been approved. Caltrans has approached the city in general, like asking us for discussion about no right turn in red implementation along El Camino. We've been in conversation with Caltrans about that, particularly on the side streets. So no right turn on red, along El Camino, not on side streets. So none of that has been incorporated yet.
I just heard someone from the public, so they wanted that or they just?
The public is
That was-
aware that along El Camino and in other jurisdictions, those no right turn on reds are being incorporated, but we have not yet incorporated those.
And one of my pet projects is hopefully we'll get someday is roundabouts. And somebody mentioned roundabout. So was there a discussion that earlier on about a roundabout along this section?
Yes, so a couple of years ago, the city's BPAC and Los Altos's BPAC had a joint meeting. And in that meeting specifically, roundabouts were discussed at the J Street intersection. That was the only place that was discussed, and we haven't had further discussions about that because that's a Los Altos intersection.
Okay, yeah, that could be, I think we've had issues with that on El Monte and Cuesta, or not, Covington. That's always not a lot of room. Had there been any discussion potentially on the Hollingsworth intersection?
Again, this was approved by council, the specific scope, and it was discussed at the previous CTC meetings. And the alternatives that was proposed was this one with a road diet. And I don't believe roundabouts were approved at that point or voted.
Just asking because a lot of cities are starting to go that route, even on major roads come about. Okay, so my general comments are that we are still a vehicle centric state, and that road diets have their place and pedestrians have the concerns and so. But I see every road that we're turning into is turning into a road diet. And we just don't have that many people on bikes. So when people come along and say, well, the people are gonna ride their bikes, they're not doing it. And that brings to why it costs a lot of money to do that. And I'm just wondering if that money can be recycled, going down, maybe the grants are given for this right now, that there was ways to increase our public transit, our shuttle services to get people moving around and getting out of their cars. Because I see that more likely to happen than people getting on bikes. And if the knowledge that we have a very, very low percentage of people riding bikes, yet we're spending a lot of money to convince people to go on there, I don't think the city is getting their fair share of money going that direction. We're gonna be going into a deficit soon, in a year or so. And I wanna see us maximize what money we have. And if we only have, say, 5% or less people are riding bikes and 95 people are using their cars, I think we need to look at our funding to see how we can get those people moving through the city efficiently and potentially with shuttles and greenhouse gases. So that's more of a general statement about all the bike lanes because we did it on California. And I don't think we did a bike survey recently to see what's going on. I would like to see anytime we propose a road diet that we put in counters to see how many people are really using the bikes. And if it's 2% or less, then I don't think that's a wise use of our money. And I'm very pragmatic about the approaches that we do. I like bike lanes. I've seen them work well in other cities. But I just think you're doing it on California, you're doing it on El Camino. And El Camino, I have a front row seat to the bike lanes from where my store is. And I don't see people riding the bike. So if they're saying, well, build it and they will come, it's still early. I haven't totally gotten saying that it was a lot of money, but we'll see what happens. And I don't, oh, does staff, anybody, have you seen bike lanes that are put in Mountain View and that you've seen a gradual increase substantially to justify a cost of lane? I know safety is priceless, so we're not putting that aside. But have we seen where we've spent a lot of money on a bike lane and we're just getting a few people coming through?
I'd like to nominate Calderon Avenue.
We had a bike lane, took it out, then we had. Yeah, so Calderon's a very narrow street to begin with. Okay, so these are some of the concerns I'm hearing, or I feel that, yes, we get all these, and I appreciate the people who come virtually, but they're all bike advocates. We don't hear from the general public, and I'm gonna say I'm a general public guy that's trying to represent. We got 82,000 people in here, and we're listening to maybe 2,000 people on bikes. And so we need to make sure that when we do all these roads, that we appreciate everybody that's out there. And I still think we're focusing too much on this across the city. So to your motion, there's concerns I have on it. You know, the cut through, I'm a little concerned about. The turn into the parking, the shopping center is a concern of mine. Now, just to give you some context, in 2015, I was mayor. We had a March, what am I saying that? Marriage, yeah. We had a death. Somebody was driving through and whatever, the lights weren't there. And it took us almost 5 or 6 years to get lights in there. Now, one of the issues was that all the trees dimmed the area. Now, I know you all want trees and I love trees and I see some great trees and you can talk, you know, we start talking about trees, I can see where the city doesn't even put trees up down Grant Road that they took out years ago. But we have to be very careful about the lighting because the trees are causing blind spots and people will potentially get hurt. And we're doing something on Sleeper and Grant and the lighting is not there. We have some great trees, but that's making those intersections. So there's always something going on that you want something, but there's, you know, we have to pay attention to the unintended consequences. So how can now this, I'll just say no to the motion. I'll vote no. I can't support it because there's things that I want to get questioned about. And it sounds like there's more research, there's more money going into it. And I would like to feel more comfortable about the money that we're spending, that it's fully funded. Because I was gone before, I'm just going to keep talking on with them. And there's projects that were on the on the agenda when I was on council, and there's 4 years later, and they're still not funded and they're still not getting done. And the delays and cost escalations hurts the city in the way we budget our money. So unless when it comes back, I'd like to see that this thing is fully funded or the funds there, because I heard too much stuff. Well, the scope's there, we're getting money, some grant money here at there. And until it's, well, here's a question for you. Are you going to proceed even though it's not fully funded on certain parts of this project?
Question to me?
Yes, ma'am.
So this project is fully funded with the exception of the RFB at Hollingsworth. And the reason why we're going to be seeking additional funds for that is because it is currently an uncontrolled intersection and we're dropping in a crosswalk. And so I have great safety reservations about dropping in a crosswalk at an uncontrolled intersection, and our RFB will be my solution for that.
Could you help me with that acronym?
Rapid rectangular flashing beacon.
Yes, I would.
So
not
it's a
know.
button, yeah, so it's a button you push and then the flashing lights go off and that alerts vehicles that there's a pedestrian crossing. And it's a safety measure.
Okay. And that's what's over there at Marriage? Okay. So,
But other than that, we're funded.
green light, well, okay, how long is it gonna do to continue the scope? She says that we're gonna revise the scope, so when do you think this project will start construction?
So we are anticipating 2027 after obtaining Caltrans approval, because it does require design approval and permits from Caltrans for the.
So in
improvements.
2027, do you think costs will escalate by then? And so are you putting in an inflation factor into your budget now?
We get estimates all along throughout the phasing of a project, right? So 30%, 60%, 90%, 100%, we get updated and cost estimates at that time. We will finish design prior to actual construction as the team said, because there is a gap for Caltrans approval, but the direction to the designer will be, give us an estimate, you know, at the time that we plan to start construction. And so the intent is to come in. Well, the intent is for the bids to come in at the estimate and for the estimate to be within the amount of money that we have.
I would add that as part of the capital improvement project every year, active projects that are going into construction are reviewed specifically for inflation and cost adjustments. So at that time, staff recommends all of the projects that might need a bump in cost to get that. At this point, it's important to move forward because we have federal funding attached to this. So regardless of local concerns over an RFP, which might be in the order of $100,000, we have about $2.4 million in federal funding that needs to be spent so that we can get the benefit to the community. That funding is potentially at risk.
Is that money always, okay, I'll take that offline. But I'm just, one of my big pushes from me as a council member is to always start looking at, I've seen too many projects delayed and too many prices going up. And even when you do it, that's a lot of money. So we're just, that's a preaching from me. Okay, let's
Okay,
do,
I'm gonna comment on your comments.
please go right ahead.
So I like that you're thoroughly reviewing things. And I do agree that I like that we're doing bike lanes, you know, some east-west and north-south, you know, some important streets. I do think what we should see, you know, how well they're being used. I think we should continually count. And I also think that we should review how we're spending money, and we should, I don't think it's the same bucket of funds, but I do think that mass transit and how we fund our shuttle is important. I think those are all important subjects. So I'm glad you brought them up, but I still, and I also think it's important what you said, where you put trees that you don't block visibility and lights. All the things you brought up, I think are important, but I still stand by the motion as
That's
is.
fine. But I thank you for those comments.
You're welcome.
Are you gonna say? Go.
I want to vote.
Okay,
You're the chair. You have to say all those in favor.
well, let's, the motion, let's review it and make sure that we get the motion correct, because it's very limited.
It's
Approve the preliminary,
You have it written down.
approve the preliminary design. Is that correct? Preliminary, is there another one?
Preliminary design. Yeah, we're in early concept design, preliminary design. They're used interchangeably.
Okay, so that means the budget could change. Approve the preliminary design for El Monte Corridor Improvements Project 21-38 and direct staff to advance the project into final design.
Yes.
All in favor, raise.
With special consideration on that intersection and on something else that I said. How to incorporate pedestrians and bicyclists into what was the slip.
And there was, the seconder agreed to that, okay? The comments made by council. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Thank you. We will go on to. We're gonna- Okay, we will continue on to our 5.3. Green store. Another oldie but goodie. There's another. So thank you, staff, for listening. Thank you again for virtual week now that. Green store. So we just had a discussion about policy. Area.
Want to hear all about that?
Yeah. And I'm glad to see Dawn here. You can get that down. I told you about the sounds of it. So, where's his introduction? Robert Gonzalez will give us, Principal Civil Engineer, will give us a discussion. Give us the update on the Ringstorf grade separation project, cost reduction measures, and the presentation. Oh, Joy will be with us on Tom, Sylvan Engineer Robert Gonzalez, and maybe Dawn, Principal Civil Engineer.
She's trying to hide in the back. Well,
Well, that's long ago. So please, staff, continue with your presentation. I look eagerly to where this marathon's going.
Thank you. Actually, I'll ask Joy Houghton is going to do the presentation today.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Chair and committee members. My name is Joy Houghton, Senior Civil Engineer, and I'm joined here tonight by Robert Gonzalez, Principal Civil Engineer in Public Works. And we are here to present updates as well as cost reduction measures for the Ringstorf Avenue Grade Separation Project. To start with some background, Caltrain currently operates 104 trains per weekday, resulting in 17 minutes of gate downtime per peak hour at Ringstorf Avenue and creates significant backups. These backups directly impact community access to schools, services, Ringstorf Park, the community center, and other facilities along Ringstorf Avenue. Gate downtimes are expected to increase as Caltrain service levels increase over time. And the Ringstorf Avenue Grade Separation Project is being delivered in partnership with VTA and Caltrain and will improve safety and eliminate crossing delays for pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles due to the gate downtimes. The project will also eliminate use of train horns at Ringstorf Avenue.
Ooh, dang.
This project includes depressing the intersection of Ringstorf Avenue and Central Expressway while maintaining the train tracks at its approximate existing elevation. The project also includes a bicycle pedestrian overcrossing of Ringstorf Avenue to maintain the connectivity between the east and west sides of Ringstorf Avenue. An American with Disabilities Act compliant pathway from Crisanto Avenue and Ringstorf Park to the lower Ringstorf Avenue. And realignment of Leland Avenue and utilities connecting to Ringstorf to the south, which staff has been referring to as the Leland Connector to maintain vehicular access to and from the La Plaza Market and the neighborhood on the west side of Ringstorf. The Ringstorf Avenue grade separation started more than 2 decades ago as a feasibility study in 2004. The project has completed 35% design and is progressing to 65% design. At the January 2024 council study session, staff shared a construction cost estimate of $242 million and the total project cost estimate of $325 million based on the 35% design plans. With the total cost of $325 million, the project was anticipated to have a funding shortfall of $31 million, which staff believe could be closed by pursuing grant funding opportunities. In October 2024, the city received updated construction cost estimates for the project based on the 35% design plans from the contractor and a third-party cost estimator. These updates increased the estimated construction cost to $312 million and the total project cost to $453 million. Coupled with modest increases to other phases of the project, the anticipated funding shortfall increased to $159 million. Staff analysis revealed that the earlier estimate underestimated the construction costs and did not include the necessary contingencies at that stage of the design. Upon receiving the updated project cost, the project team paused the progress of the design from 35% to 65% to focus on verifying the cost estimate and also identifying options to reduce the project costs. This verification work is ongoing and it doesn't appear that it will result in any meaningful reduction in the estimate. Currently, some components of the projects are progressing into the 65% design And staff at this time does not recommend all components to proceed into 65% design until we receive direction or until decisions are made about the potential project scope changes to reduce the project costs. The cost reduction strategy is based on 3 categories. Construction methods and sequence. These options do not change the project design. Design modifications, these options will change design details. And elimination and deferral of project elements. The strategy will defer some project elements to be constructed by the city at a later time. The estimated cost saving for each option is preliminary and will require more detailed work to determine actual cost savings. For this reason, the cost savings shown in tonight's presentation should be considered as a rough order of magnitude rather than definitive numbers. The first category of cost reduction strategy is construction methods and sequence. The design team has evaluated adjustments, including construction staging, roadway pavement section, sanitary sewer relocation, and single track shoe fly. A shoe fly is a temporary rail line used to bypass a construction site, allowing trains to continue operations while the main track is being repaired or replaced. And a single track shoe fly is one rail that will serve both directions, allowing only one direction to proceed at a time, temporarily affecting rail service and potentially ridership. The total potential savings from this category is 18.4 million. However, as the single track shoe fly was found infeasible by Caltrain, the potential cost savings that can be realized in this category is approximately 14 million. The second category of the cost reduction strategy is design modifications. Various design alternatives have been evaluated to determine potential cost savings. And we recognize that these cost-saving options require thoughtful consideration and deliberation as they will affect the user's experience. The first design modification options is the elimination of the meandering pedestrian pathway at Ringstorff Park. If this enhancement is removed, the impact to Ringstorff Park is reduced as there is an existing alternate pathway connecting Crisanto Avenue and the skate park to the lower Ringstorff Avenue, which I will share on the next slide. Elimination of the meandering path results in a cost saving of approximately 0.8 million. As mentioned previously, the elimination of the meandering pathway from Crisanto to the lower Ringstorff Avenue is the practical cost-saving alternative, as there is an existing pathway shown in purple from Crisanto Avenue adjacent to the skate park that connects to Ringstorff Avenue. This existing pathway will be slightly modified to meet the future lower Ringstorff Avenue. Another cost reduction option is replacing the retaining wall adjacent to Central Expressway with sloped embankments. The 35% design included retaining walls up to 22 feet in height along the Caltrain right-of-way and Central Expressway to provide space initially expected for additional rail lines for a future double tracking by Caltrain. Caltrain determined that the double tracking at Ringstorff is no longer required and the walls can be modified with slope embankments. This design change would result in potential cost savings of approximately 4 million.
So I'm a little, so where it's up, the upper one where it's brown and then below it's green.
Yes, so
The upper one's a retaining wall and then.
yes, so there are walls
Okay,
along Central Expressway at where the Caltrain right-of-way is, and then the cost savings would be reducing those, and they would be sloping closer to the lowered
it'll be a
grades
slope
at the
versus.
intersection. A wall.
Thank you.
The potential cost savings in the design modification category is $4.8 million. The third cost reduction strategy is elimination or deferral of project elements. Further near-term cost reductions can be realized by reducing the project scope and deferring elements that could be constructed by the city in future phases. One project element that can be eliminated and deferred as a future project is the retaining wall at the gas station. As it is feasible for the gas station to remain with the proposed lowering of Rainsdorf Avenue and Central Expressway intersection, this property will need to be acquired for the project. Use for this parcel remains undetermined, and deferring the construction of the walls and stairs at this property can result in a potential cost savings of 1.3 million. The city or future developer can construct and regrade the site in the future when the use for the property is determined. Another element that can be eliminated from the scope and deferred as a future project is the bicycle pedestrian bridge. This bridge connects Crisanto Avenue and Rainsdorf Park to the La Plaza Market and the neighborhood on the west side of Rainsdorf Avenue. Deferring construction of this bridge and stairway can result in a cost savings of approximately 2 million. The potential cost savings from this category is approximately 3.3 million. However, the bicycle and pedestrian bridge maintains the connectivity of the neighborhood to the park, providing substantial value to the community. Staff does not recommend moving forward with this alternative given the marginal cost savings and substantial community benefits. The total potential cost savings for the recommended alternative in this category is 1.3 million. During the value engineering efforts, staff continued to work with Caltrain to review the project construction schedule to determine that if the construction phase can be reduced. This effort resulted in reducing construction duration from 3 years to 2.5 years, which also reduces the indirect costs associated with the construction duration. In addition, contingencies and fees have been adjusted to reflect their proportional relation to the total construction costs. Approximately 38 million in additional cost savings were identified and included in the revised project costs on this next slide. The recommended cost reduction measures presented will provide a total of 58.1 million. The total savings of 58.1 million reduces the project cost from 453 to 395 million. A total of 296 million in funding has been secured or is anticipated, resulting in a new project shortfall of 99 million. If the city council approves the recommended cost reduction measures. The greatest risk of rising project costs is delay, with estimates showing an annual increase of 9 to 14 billion if full construction begins after 2027. While final design and right-of-way acquisition are fully funded and will take 18 to 24 months, the city can reduce cost escalation by progressing with these phases while securing additional funding. Additionally, early construction of certain components, such as utility relocations and the Leland Avenue realignment, can help mitigate cost increases and keep the project on track for full construction. Staff will continue collaborating with the project team to explore cost-saving measures during the design phase and will present recommendations to council for approval in fall 2025 before fully proceeding into 65%. Community outreach events will be scheduled to keep our residents informed as the project moves forward into final design. And in parallel, staff will advance right-of-way acquisition and pursue early work opportunities to help reduce future cost escalation. And this brings us to staff recommendation that the city council approves staff's recommendations for cost reduction measures for the Rainsdorf Avenue grade separation project. This concludes tonight's presentation, and we'd be happy to answer questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Any members of the committee have any questions? Yes, please.
So these are great. We should do cost reduction analysis all the time. It was very clear. I only have a couple of questions. What, do you know what, I know you're not like the landscaping department, but do you know what kinds of landscaping can be done on the sloped embankments? I've heard it's kind of limited, but any idea?
We may be able to do some very low planting, but the sloped embankments are within the Caltrain right away, and my understanding is they try to avoid trees because they do have overhead lines.
Do they hang over what?
They have overhead lines
Oh, I see.
supporting the electric rail.
But you can do more than just grass or something. You think?
I believe so.
No, you're not though.
But we will continue to coordinate that with.
Yeah, I'd love
Caltrain.
to keep in touch with that, and it, you know, looks much better on the sketches, and you know, I think it has great potential to really make the whole area better. Can we use the Shell gas station for pickleball?
Theoretically, we could use lots of places for pickleball, so that is on the radar. You've said it out loud now.
Okay, those are my questions.
I will, I'll go ahead and continue with my questions. So just to put things in context, I was here in 2014 when this project was $120 million. So if you refer back to the last project where I was concerned about escalating costs, they're still there. And my question is, so going on this one. So we still have we bought any of the right of way on any of it so far?
We have purchased one property at 134 South Ringstorff through a voluntary sale.
And could we bring that up, please? Do you have that somewhere up there? If you're ready, I can let you talk and I can follow up. Or...
I'm ready to move stuff.
Oh, okay. Then I'll talk.
Sorry. I may not have a slide
Well,
that shows.
you can just point at it. I mean, that's just.
So in terms of right-of-way acquisition, we have a list of partial and full takes that we need to acquire as part of this project. And so we've strategically worked out with VTA and with our partners at California. Which one?
Spam call. Oh, it's somebody from Mountain View called. Oh, okay. Where'd that go? Hello? Goodbye. Yes, sorry about that. Okay, done that the first thing come. Okay, so, but you haven't,
134 is where Leland Connector, the future Leland Connector will
so is
connect
that
to
some homes
Ringstorff.
being taken out?
The house. A residential property has been purchased, correct.
Okay. Okay, because I know that, okay. And other than the Shell station, is there any other property that needs to be bought?
Yes, as I was mentioning, we have a list of partial and full takes. The Shell is probably the most prominent full take that we need to negotiate. So we begin with those willing sellers. The La Plaza Market is the other one that is predominant here, where we would be modifying their parking lot substantially. Well, like taking it away for a time and then replacing it in kind. So that takes effort, that takes design, that takes some planning to do. So that would be another one that we need to strategize.
Do you have okay. I'm gonna just, do you guys have any definitive costs for all these items? As you're talking about, okay, the right of way is gonna, are you going with $1924 or $2024? Are you going with October $2024?
Yes, for the right of way.
So it's 35 million, okay.
Yes.
Okay, on that one. So thank you on that, because that, okay, all these numbers are guesstimates.
Estimates,
Okay,
preliminary estimates based on 35% design plans.
I just give you, I'm coming from VTA and everything's a guesstimate over there. So we're doing our best guess, right? And are we doing our guess best that because you have so many unfunded or planned items that we haven't received the money yet, that where was that list here? Plan. Oh,
Chairman. So this project has come to council of CTC numerous
oh, I
times.
know.
And part of the issue was that the original estimate from Caltrans was 50% over what they had originally, right? Wasn't it? It was 50% over what they had originally told the city and the partners. And so we are in the position of having to do all these cost reductions because of the egregious calculations from Caltrans. And so now we're to make this move forward. So that's why I have no questions, because staff has been continually trying to come back to help find a path forward. But I would say this isn't from, in my opinion, it's not from the city side, it's from the Caltrans side, who hired a consultant that was off by $75 million dollars. I'm looking to our former public works director, and I just want to provide that color. Because I think everything we're talking about today is how do we continue?
We're only talking about how to reduce it. We're not.
Right.
No,
Right,
but
but because of them, and so I would say it's nothing on the city side. I think we've been nothing more than creative and scrappy in how we're trying to make this go forward. Scrappy.
Oh, scrappy. I thought I heard crappy. Oh, sorry.
No, scrappy, on how we've been able to go forward. And so I'll just turn it over to staff. So that's why at this point, no further questions from me, because I just wanted to keep proceeding, because the more that we don't, the more we might face what we faced prior with Caltrans. And I just want to
Oh,
move forward.
don't worry, I'm all aboard on this project, but I just.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good
Businessman
evening,
in me.
Chairperson and committee members. Dawn Cameron, Assistant City Manager. I want to note a few things. I appreciate what Member Kamei had to say about the source of our estimates and some of our concerns in the past and why we saw such huge new estimates come in. But one of the things I will say about the new estimates that we're working with is the previous estimates were prepared by design engineers. And we don't know why that they were so underestimating the costs. But what we do know is what's happened since is Caltrain has brought on a general contractor. It's called construction manager, general contractor during the design phase, who has been looking at all the cost estimates from a contractor's perspective and contacting vendors and validating the costs. And one of the reasons we got the big jump of costs is they're the ones that did the reality check and said, no, it's really going to cost this. So one of the things we do have going for us now with these new cost estimates is it has more validation by actual general contracting firm that delivers these types of projects. And two, in answer to one of your other questions about the time period of the cost estimate, as Senior Engineer Houghton said, this estimate now for us is good as long as we can start full construction by the end of 2027. So we built in enough escalation to account for, we spend the next 2 years finishing up final design and right away. And, yes, it's going to be a challenge filling that funding gap, and we're working on that as much as we can right now. And if we are successful, we have at least accounted for potential escalation through 2027. So.
While we have you up there, are you involved with the conversations about Measure B money with the other cities and the?
You mean in terms of the share that Mountain View is receiving of the Measure B?
And the
Grade
delays that
separation?
Caltrain is causing along the way?
Yes, we have been having active discussions both at the VTA level and with Caltrain in terms of the fact that it's not just us, it's other cities as well that have grade separations in progress that have seen major cost escalation. And Burlingame is really a prime example, one that was in final design and thought they'd be in construction this year and received an estimate double what they thought it was going to be about a year ago. And as a result of that, there was even a meeting last week that involved city leadership from 9 cities that have active grade separations with Caltrain to really talk about improving our partnerships and working with Caltrain to on getting projects delivered more quickly and really looking at being more cost effective, as well as starting that engagement of all of us as cities talking about we all need more funding and starting to look for opportunities to achieve our goals.
So they're being more expeditious on their planning reviews and so forth.
That's part of the goal.
Okay, on here it says Measure B money, $171 million planned. What does planned mean? Within,
The plan is the remaining of the city share of the 2016 Measure B rail grade separation program funds. We've expended some of it on the Castro grade separation design. We've expended some of it on the design for Rainstorf as well. So the 171, I believe, is the remaining of the city share of Measure B funds.
that's been allocated by VTA and authorized?
So that's, if I may, what's happened is there was an agreement a few years ago of how the Measure B grade separation money would be split among the 3 cities. And that resulted in Mountain View receiving 25% of that particular funding source. So that is, while not technically allocated, it's our share. What VTA has been doing is budgeting the money in 2-year increments based upon what we need for our next phase. So basically, we've been promised that money and we will receive it and be allocated it through the budgeting process as we're ready to proceed into that phase and use the money.
Okay. That goes along with the other money that's planned. SPUC grade separation grant and the city, well, that's our own funding. $30 million. Okay, one other question I have. I'll cut to the chase a bit for you, Mayor. So the one question on pedestrian bridge or the connection across. Can you bring up that diagram for me? Okay, so the thing, the one in purple,
Yes,
so that is how much?
$2 million.
$2 million? Okay, so how much further down does that get us to the, so it says Ringstorf there, you gotta cross it. The signal, how far is that bridge to the signal that turns into the community center?
I'd say it's several hundred feet.
So it's 300 perhaps.
Okay, so to have people go another 300 feet, potentially, instead of putting that bridge in there, and how many people? And is that potentially gonna serve just that community? So people crossing it, they're just gonna go into that community?
So we know that there is a lot of movement between the areas east of Ringstorf and west of Ringstorf, accessing the La Paz market as well as going to and from the 2 communities. So some of that is accessed via Stanford, but a lot of it is accessed through the park. So if you're at the park, you see a lot of people with bags from the market. You see a lot of people moving to the market, young families, like older folks.
So when I'm really driving, my term on this council is to drive it cost. How many people you see? How much is it gonna be affected by if they went down to the signal and came on? How aggressive, how aggressive is this cost cutting? Because to me, we're really serious, that bridge, they just walk up, you got a path, but you showed earlier that they could come down to the signal and walk across. So when you say quantify the people, neighborhood or the general public at all, so. This is a rhetorical question, so I'm just giving you an idea where I'm coming from, because I think this is a tremendous need, because the trains are gonna get quicker. It is a time delay, cars are sitting there idling, there's greenhouse gases. We need to get this done.
Right.
And we were all excited when back in 2015, we thought we were moving ahead on this thing. And now I've just seen too many costs escalate, too many things delayed. And so I would like to see, I'm not gonna support the motion because I wanna see a real aggressive cost cut, a real nailing down the numbers so that when this comes back in my retirement, that let's get this done. And that's what across the board. I know you're doing the best, but we got to nail down the numbers, where it's coming from, so that when the opportunity comes, we can jump on it. Because back then, we all thought we were almost, we were show ready compared to Sunnyvale and the Los Palo Alto. We were that far ahead, ready to go. And then things gone sideways. So
So if I may, we're partners with VTA on this, and we're bringing them in as engineering specialists. So they do a lot of BART, they're doing the BART expansion, they do a lot of work that they not just fund, but also engineer. So we're bringing them along, and they looked at this as well. Alongside us, we looked very carefully at all of the cost cutting measures. So we have done the aggressive cost cutting that we want. And the bike ped bridge is a good example of this, because we looked at that and we weren't going to shy away from proposing that as a potential maneuver. The city can deliver a $2 million bridge. And if we were $2 million short of our goal, we would absolutely see that as a way to make up the difference. So if there's other ways that we can do that, we will absolutely move forward between 35 and 65. But I think what Vice Mayor Cameron is about to tell me is that I'm sorry.
But no, I never wanted elected office.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I got your
No, you've been
title
asking.
wrong. What I've been, the emphasis I want to make at this point is that time is not on our side.
time is money.
Correct.
Right, and what I would like to build on, and I believe you were headed to too, is the reason we're bringing this to you tonight is because we will not be able to continue refining the costs and nailing them down until we get through 65% design. This is why Senior Chair Houghton continues to mention, this is based upon 35% design, which is still too conceptual. So we are requesting your support and then council's approval to make these, for instance, design changes so we can finish getting through 65% design, which will provide the critical info, a level of design we need to continue to nail down the numbers.
Okay, I can understand the 65, but how are we getting there? Do we have so these numbers here, are they for the full project or for it get to the 65%?
These are numbers based on the 35% design. As I mentioned earlier, they are rough order of
So this is
magnitude
based on
numbers, so they're not definitive.
Okay, I think I've conveyed my thoughts, and so we can go to virtual. Or anybody in house would like any comment? Anybody here discuss?
No.
Anybody virtual would like to ask any questions?
No raised hands.
Okay, then we will bring it back to the committee for, comments, motions.
I think.
You
the
made motion, it's been
suggestions
seconded.
are- Make a motion to accept them. It's better than it did before.
I again will vote no, because I would like to see something much more aggressive and more, not necessarily what you're not cutting is like, I rather see, maybe I should say, I like to see some numbers, dollars, inflation, realistic things. Because it's very hard for me to see something that which I know was 150 at one time. It's gone up to here. And if we want to get it done, we really got to nail down our funding. And that's always out of our control. We're at the mercy of many. So, okay. It's a 2-1 vote. So motion passes.
Would you like to take an official vote?
Although we raised your hands. 2-4. And 1 against. Not against the project, just I need more detail. I want this project to go because it's one of our it's our only thoroughfare that's realistic. Because to get people going north, south through city, for all the other people coming through. And the great separation at Castro is just way too much. Okay. Committee comments. 6.2 is committee comments. Do any of the committee members have comments or report to share with the committee?
I have a staff comment.
Please.
So in 2016, voters overwhelmingly approved Measure B with nearly 72% support. Measure B is a 30-year half-cent countywide sales tax, and it's going to fund projects that enhance transit, highways, expressways, and active transportation, which is bicycles, pedestrians, and complete streets. As you heard earlier, a portion of Measure B will go towards the Rainstorm project as well. While the VTA Board of Directors sets policy decisions for 2016 Measure B, voters entrusted the MBCOC, so I think that's a Citizens Oversight Committee, to provide oversight to ensure that the 2016 Measure B funds are spent according to the ballot language and to keep voters informed about program compliance. So this note is to let everybody know that the VTA is soliciting members for their Citizens Oversight Committee. I believe there is a sheet attached to the agenda with contact information if anybody is interested in joining that committee or would like to apply for the committee. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That is a very important committee, because that Measure B money was hard fought by the city of Mountain View and all the other small cities. Because San Jose wanted a chunk of the money, and we all, and Supervisor Joe Smidian helped lead the cause. And Mountain View was there to keep a cap on how much money was going to park. And that's, we're doing there, okay? I'm sorry, I didn't read that part of the comments there, but thank you. Okay, I will come back then to item 6.2. Any comments from the
Point
committee?
two, I have a question.
Go ahead.
A member of the public commented on the Ameswell Bridge. Is that ever gonna come to us in any form? We'll look at it.
It is fully approved and
Fully
under,
approved, then
it's
I
under
guess there's-
construction.
Under
Yeah,
construction.
it's like 85% done.
Yeah, almost
Okay.
done.
Yeah, it's almost
Probably
open.
not a good time.
Which bridge?
Ribbon cutting, maybe?
It's a bridge that is over by the Ainswell Hotel that provides.
Oh, that
entrance
one,
to
yeah.
Stevens Creek Trail.
Yes, that
And
was.
the parking
When
garage.
I keep throwing it, it goes back, right, Don? Okay, would Emily, okay, so we finished that one. We will, we've done that, and I was like, adjourn. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next council transportation committee will be on December 2nd. This meeting is adjourned at 8:46. Thank you for all coming.
Thank you.